Helen, you're back, Michael exclaimed with a grin as I stepped into the living room. His overly casual tone immediately raised red flags for me. Am I? I replied cautiously, setting my suitcase down. Something about his smug expression felt off. What's with the smile? Oh, nothing, he said, waving his hand dismissively. Then, with a flourish, he added, You'll find out soon enough. I made a significant business decision while you were away. I raised an eyebrow. What kind of decision? He leaned back against the couch arm, his grin broadening. Your jewelry collection, he said, satisfaction dripping from his voice. I sold it, every piece. And before you get upset, just know you'll thank me later. Your jewels funded my empire. I froze, my heart racing as his words sank in. My jewelry? Collection items I had curated over years, some handed down from my mother and grandmother, others bought with my hard-earned money, was gone. What did you just say? I asked, my voice trembling. Michael laughed, clearly misinterpreting my tone. I said I sold it. Helen, do you know how much those diamonds were worth? Enough to launch a venture that will put us on the map. It's brilliant. Really, you should be proud. Proud. My hands balled into fists, anger surging through me. You had no right, Michael. That was my jewelry. Do you even understand what you've done? He rolled his eyes. Oh, come on. It's not like you wore half of it. It was just collecting dust. Now it's actually doing something useful. My name is Helen, and if there's one thing I learned during my marriage to Michael, it's that his ambition always comes first. When we first met, I admired his drive. He had big dreams, and I believed in them. But over time, I began to see the flaws. How his charm disguised a tendency to bulldoze anyone in his path. Still, I never expected him to stoop this low. The jewelry collection wasn't just valuable. It was deeply personal. Each piece held a story tied to the life I had built for myself, and now it was gone just like that because Michael decided my possessions were his to use. But what he didn't know, what made his smug grin so infuriating, was that I wasn't as careless as he thought. Months ago, after hearing about a series of local burglaries, I had taken precautions. My most valuable pieces had discreet tracking devices embedded in their clasps. I forced myself to remain calm, hiding the storm of emotions brewing inside me. Michael thought he had won, but the game had only just begun. That night, I sat in my bedroom, staring at the empty drawer where my jewelry box used to be. The void felt like a physical reminder of what Michael had taken from me. The anger bubbling inside me was nearly overwhelming. He hadn't just sold jewelry. He had taken pieces of my history, things I could never replace. The sapphire ring my grandmother had given me on her 80th birthday, the diamond bracelet my mother wore on her wedding day, even the gold pendant I bought for myself after landing my first big job. Every piece meant something, and Michael had discarded them like they were merely stepping stones for his empire. My fingers hovered over my phone. I wanted to call him out right then and there, scream at him, demand answers. But I knew better than to confront him in a fit of rage. Instead, I opened the tracking app I had installed months ago. The screen lit up with a map, red dots scattered throughout the city. My breath caught as I realized the devices were still active. My necklace was at a downtown consignment store, The bracelet had already moved to a warehouse in the industrial district. The app even showed timestamps, tracking the journey of my belongings as they changed hands. A grim sense of satisfaction replaced my anger. Michael might think he had outsmarted me, but I had something he didn't: evidence. If the tracking data was accurate, I could not only find out where my pieces were, but also prove that Michael had stolen them. I picked up my phone and called Megan, my best friend, and the one person I could always rely on. "Megan," I said as soon as she picked up, "you won't believe what Michael did." "What now?" she asked, already exasperated. I explained everything: the sale, his smug attitude, the tracking devices. By the time I finished, she was as furious as I was. "Helen, you need to go to the police," she said firmly. "I will," I replied, feeling a flicker of determination. "First thing tomorrow." I ended the call and sat back, staring at the glowing dots on the screen. Michael had no idea what was coming. For once, I felt like I had the upper hand. The next morning, I walked into the local police station, phone in hands, my nerves wound tight. I had never filed a report like this before, but Megan's voice echoed in my head. "You have to go to the police." She was right. If I let Michael get away with this, he would only push the boundaries further. At the front desk, a kind officer greeted me. "How can we help you today?" "I need to report a theft," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Was it your property?" "Yes," I replied, taking a deep breath. "My jewelry collection sold without my consent." The officer raised his eyebrows slightly, but nodded. "Let's get some details." He motioned for me to follow him to a desk where I explained everything: Michael's actions, the value of the jewelry, and the tracking devices I had installed. When I showed him the app, his expression turned serious. "This is excellent evidence," he said, jotting down notes. "If these tracking devices are active, we may be able to retrieve some items. Do you have a list of what was taken?" "I do," I said, pulling out a notebook filled with every piece and its approximate value. It felt strange, almost surreal, as the officer read through the list. The sapphire ring, the diamond bracelet, the gold pendant, they were more than just numbers on a page. They were pieces of my life, now scattered across the city because of Michael's greed. The officer, whose name tag read Detective Carter, looked up from his notes. "We'll start by verifying the locations of the tracking signals. If the items are where you say they are, this could be a straightforward recovery. However, since your husband sold them without your consent, this also constitutes fraud. Are you prepared to pursue charges?" I hesitated, the weight of his question pressing down on me. "Yes," I said finally. "I want him held accountable." Detective Carter nodded, his expression resolute. "Good. Let's get started." As I left the station, a mix of emotions churned inside me: relief that the police were taking this seriously, anger, remembering Michael's smug grin when he told me, and most of all, determination. For years, I had let Michael take and take, convincing myself it wasn't worth the fight. But this time was different. This time, I was fighting back. By the time I got home, the adrenaline from filing the report had faded, leaving me with exhaustion and anxiety. I replayed the conversation with Detective Carter in my mind, wondering how Michael would react once he realized the police were involved. The thought unsettled me. Michael had always been good at twisting situations to his advantage, portraying himself as the victim regardless of how egregious his actions were. I had seen it before how he could charm his way out of trouble with a smile and clever excuses. But this time, he didn't know I was one step ahead. That evening, Megan came over, a bottle of wine in hand. "Okay," she said, settling onto my couch. "Tell me everything. How did it go at the station?" I filled her in on the evidence I had shown Detective Carter and his plan to track down the pieces. She listened intently, her expression a mix of outrage and admiration. "You're handling this better than I would," she said when I finished. "If it were me, I'd probably be in his office flipping desks right now." I laughed despite myself. "Trust me, I've thought about it, but the police have the tracking data, and I think that's my best shot at getting everything back." "Good," Megan said, raising her glass. "Here's to you for not letting that smug jerk get away with this." The next day, I received a call from Detective Carter. "We verified the locations of the items," he said. "Two are at a consignment store downtown, and another is in a warehouse. We've secured cooperation from the store owners and are moving forward with retrieval. I'll keep you updated as we progress." Relief washed over me. "Thank you," I said, gripping the phone tightly. "Does this mean I'll get them back?" "It's looking good," he replied, "but the investigation is still ongoing. We've also flagged your husband's financial activities. I don't want to alarm you, but there may be more going on than just the jewelry sale." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "There are some unusual transactions linked to his business accounts," Detective Carter explained. "We'll need to look into it further, but this could be bigger than we initially thought." As I hung up, my mind raced. Michael hadn't just betrayed me. He might have been hiding a completely different side of himself. The idea that his betrayal could run even deeper haunted me throughout the day. I paced the kitchen, replaying Detective Carter's words. What else had Michael been hiding from me? Later that evening, I decided to confront him. If there was more to this than the jewelry sale, I needed to know. When he walked through the door, his smug grin annoyed me more than usual. He tossed his keys on the counter and said, "Busy day. What's for dinner?" I didn't bother hiding my anger. "Michael," I said, crossing my arms, "we need to talk now." His grin folded, replaced by a wary expression. "What's wrong?" "What's wrong?" I repeated sharply. "You stole my jewelry to fund your so-called empire, and now the police are investigating you." The color drained from his face, but he quickly tried to recover. "Police? What are you talking about? I didn't steal anything, Helen. That jewelry was just collecting dust. I thought you'd be happy it was being put to good use." I shook my head, disgusted by his audacity. "Put to good use? Michael, you had no right to touch my things. And now the police are looking into your finances, and they think there's more to this than just the jewelry." His expression shifted, anger flashing in his eyes. "You went to the police?" he hissed. "You're turning this into a circus. Why couldn't you just talk to me like an adult?" "Because talking to you doesn't work," I shot back. "You always find a way to twist things or talk yourself out of trouble. This time, there's evidence, and you can't charm your way out of it." Michael stared at me, his confidence waning. "You've made a huge mistake, Helen. If you think you can tear me down like this, You've got another thing coming. I didn't flinch. No, Michael. The only mistake I made was trusting you. But that ends now. The silence between us grew heavy as he glared at me, his confidence cracking. For once, he didn't have a snappy comeback or a smug excuse. He simply stormed out of the kitchen, slamming the door behind him. I stood there for a long time, my heart racing. This wasn't just about reclaiming what was mine anymore. It was about standing up for myself, for everything I had let Michael take from me over the years. I wasn't backing down. The next day, I received another call from Detective Carter. Mrs. Parker, he said, his tone steady but serious. We've recovered 3 of the items so far, including the diamond bracelet and sapphire ring. The rest are being traced to other locations, but we have an unexpected development. What kind of development? I asked, gripping the phone tightly. We've uncovered financial transactions linked to your husband's business that suggest fraudulent activity. Some of these funds appear to overlap with the sale of your jewelry, but others involve external accounts that raise red flags. We're expanding the investigation. I sat down, the weight of his words pressing on my chest. Michael wasn't just selfish. He was reckless. What does this mean for me? I asked cautiously. For now, you're not implicated. Detective Carter reassured me, but it's important that you remain cooperative and provide any additional information we request. Your husband's actions could have serious legal consequences. I hung up, staring at the phone in disbelief. What had Michael gotten himself into? Selling my jewelry was bad enough, but fraud. I felt like I was living with a stranger, someone I no longer recognized. That evening, I called Megan. The police think Michael's involved in something bigger, I said, pacing the living room. They're looking into his business accounts. Megan didn't sound surprised. Honestly, Helen, I'm not shocked. The way he carries himself, like the rules don't apply to him, it was only a matter of time before it caught up with him. But how could I not have seen this? I asked, my voice breaking. I married him, trusted him, and now everything feels like a lie. Megan's tone soft. You couldn't have known, Helen. He's good at hiding things, at manipulating people, but this isn't your fault. You're doing the right thing by standing up for yourself. Her words provided some comfort, but the anger and betrayal still churned inside me. Later that night, Michael came home, his usual confidence replaced by frustration and barely contained rage. I know what you've been doing, he said, his voice low and venomous. The police. The bank. Do you have any idea what kind of damage you've caused? I didn't cause this, Michael, I replied, meeting his glare. You did, and now you're finally facing the consequences. He laughed bitterly. You think you've won? This isn't over, Helen? You're right, I said calmly. It's not over, but it's out of your hands now. For the first time, I saw fear flicker in his eyes. The following morning, I received another call from Detective Carter. Mrs. Parker, he began, his tone steady but serious. We've recovered several more items from your jewelry collection. They were traced to a private auction house downtown. Relief washed over me. Does that mean I'll get 'em back soon? I asked, my voice trembling with a mix of hope and exhaustion. Yes, Detective Carter confirmed. We're working through the legal process to return the recovered items to you. But there's another development. The financial records tied to your husband's business show evidence of tax evasion and embezzlement. It's a growing case. Hearing those words didn't surprise me anymore. By this point, I had come to accept that Michael wasn't just careless. He was deeply unethical. I thanked Detective Carter and hung up, my resolve hardening. I couldn't let Michael's actions drag me down any further. That afternoon, I took the first tangible step toward reclaiming my independence. I contacted a lawyer. Megan had recommended someone who specialized in family law and financial recovery. Sitting in her office, I explained everything from the theft of my jewelry to the unfolding police investigation. "This is a mess," she said, flipping through her notes. "But the good news is you've already done a lot to protect yourself by going to the authorities. We can file for a formal separation and begin securing your personal assets." Hearing those words was both terrifying and empowering. I had never imagined I would be sitting in a lawyer's office, planning to disentangle my life from my husband's. But after everything Michael had done, I knew it was the only way forward. "What about his business?" I asked. "Could this affect me financially?" "Potentially," she replied. "That's why it's important to establish clear boundaries. Now, if his business is under investigation, we need to ensure your finances are protected." Later that evening, as I reviewed the paperwork the lawyer had given me, Megan called to check in. "How are you holding up?" she asked. "I'm okay," I said, surprising myself with the honesty of the statement. For the first time in weeks, I feel like I'm in control. It's not easy, but I know I'm doing the right thing. "You are," Megan said firmly. "And you're stronger than you realize, Helen. Don't forget that." As I hung up, I glanced at the stack of documents on the table. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time, I felt ready to face it. 2 days later, I met Detective Carter at the station to review the progress of the investigation. "Mrs. Parker," he said, gesturing for me to sit across from him, "we've traced almost all of your jewelry and confirmed it was sold through high-value channels. The auction house and consignment stores involved have provided full cooperation." "That's a relief," I said, feeling a small weight lift off my shoulders. "And Michael, what's happening with him?" Detective Carter leaned forward, folding his hands on the desk. "The evidence against him is significant. Between the unauthorized sale of your jewelry and the fraud tied to his business accounts, the DA is preparing charges. He's not going to walk away from this." Hearing those words filled me with a mix of satisfaction and sadness. Michael's actions had hurt me deeply, but knowing he would face consequences was a step toward justice. That evening, when Michael came home late, I was in the living room surrounded by legal documents and bank paperwork. He stopped in the doorway, his face hard and defensive. "What is all this?" he asked, nodding toward the papers. "Divorce filings," I said evenly, not looking up. His eyes widened, and for a moment I saw genuine shock on his face. "You're divorcing me?" he asked, disbelief tinging his voice. "Yes, Michael," I said, meeting his gaze. "This is the end. I won't let you drag me down with you any further," he scoffed, running a hand through his hair. "You think you're going to come out of this unscathed? I built everything for us, Helen. Everything I've done was for this family." I laughed bitterly. "You didn't do it for us. You did it for yourself. You stole from me, lied to me, and left me to clean up your mess. This famillette was always just about you." He stared at me, his confidence slipping with each word. "You don't mean this," he said finally. "You can't mean this." "I do," I said,